hot takes, Capitol Hill. That's the focus of tonight's angle. First, he laid out the facts.
My uncle was president. 3% of Americans were obese. Today, 74% of Americans are obese or overweight. No other country has anything like this. In Japan, the obesity rate is still 3%. And epidemics are not caused by genes. Genes may provide the vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. Something is poisoning the American people.
A compellingly accurate opening statement by Trump's HHS Secretary nominee, RFK Jr. Now, we can save countless lives and save billions in healthcare costs if we focus on Americans' health before they get sick. And sick they are. Now, beyond the obvious scourge of obesity that he referenced there, according to the latest figures, more than 38 million Americans have diabetes. That's about 1 in 10, and about 90% to 95% have type 2 diabetes. Depression, that's been soaring, reaching new highs, nearly 29%. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in the U.S., exceeded only by heart disease. 1 in every 5 deaths in the U.S. is due to cancer. Now, these numbers, and especially types of cancers that haven't really been hitting young people to the extent that they are now, it's heartbreaking. Now, much of this, we're going to learn, is entirely preventable. RFK Jr. wants Americans to get back to basics. And he brushed off kind of the anti-vaxxer accusation pretty well, but Democrats, they never let the facts get in the way of a good smear operation.
The receipts show that Mr. Kennedy has embraced conspiracy theories, quacks, charlatans. This is the profile of someone who chases money and influence wherever they lead, even if that may mean the tragic deaths of children.
This is a job where it is life and death for the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools. It's too important for the games that you're playing.
And the Oscar for Best Actor in a Political Drama goes to Michael Bennett. Now, seriously, if one had to diagnose the condition afflicting today's Democrat Party, what would it be? Because their minority status and President Trump's popularity, it's triggered their acute political psychosis.
Mr. Kennedy has questioned the scientific basis for germs causing disease and the power of vaccines and antibiotics.
I've never questioned that, Senator.
Well, I will submit that for the record.
Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
Bernie Sanders, I actually had him on my radio in my car today. I think that blew my speaker on the passenger side. It was da-da-da-da-da. It's just more ALH, angry liberal hyperbole.
The head of the HHS must believe in science and believe the experts.
The first 100 people you'd find would be less dangerous at the head of HHS than Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
RFK Jr. wants to conduct the Tuskegee experiments on all of us. I truly believe that if he runs HHS, that millions will die.
Democrats, millions will die. Look, the Democrats, they're in a quandary here. Because after years of claiming the mantle of the healthcare protectors, they're now scrambling to take down the nomination of a true healthcare crusader, RFK Jr. Plus, let's face it, a party that holds as sacrosanct the genital mutilation of children and the in utero mutilation of babies has zero credibility on protecting health and saving lives. And I'm not even raising the COVID issue. Now, to be clear, RFK Jr. is certainly not a conservative, not on a lot of the issues that I care about, and he's never run a big institution before. But since when has that ever bothered Democrats before in cabinet picks? Can anyone say Mayor Pete? Oh, South Bend is big, though. And what RFK Jr. lacks in managerial experience, he makes up for with an unwavering dedication to improving America's spiraling health with more common sense approaches. Now, that alone has helped galvanize millions of Americans into the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again movement. And those people wonder why a country so rich with so many experts can be so unhealthy.
What's at stake is American health. We can either continue along the path that we've been on, or we can go a different way. And the way that RFK Jr. is proposing is that we actually get to the root causes of this chronic disease epidemic that we're seeing that's impacting our children.
It's unfortunate that this has become such a political issue because RFK has been appointed by Trump. There's a vast majority of Americans that want to see serious change in health. And I think RFK really helps. I want him to make it easier for parents to shop for their families.
Yeah, parents want answers. They don't want more obfuscation. So industry experts, lobbyists that make huge money, and they're paid by big pharma and big food, and of course our own government, have all failed us in the healthcare arena. So it's time for a fresh start. And that's the angle.
What a time to be alive. It was Kennedy's America, and we were fit and healthy. Obesity was just 13%. 60 years later, half the country's fat, sick, sad, and lonely. Our economy modernized, and workers sit inside all day in front of screens. Without sunlight and movement, we became depressed, so we ate our feelings. The more we ate, the more companies injected our food with addictive chemicals, which made us eat more. And our poor gut health impacted our mental health. As our bodies and minds deteriorated, doctors prescribed us pills. So the sicker we got, the richer the food and drug industries got. Insurance companies grew bigger, and so did our government debt. Our children look like sumo wrestlers, and the Army can't recruit because no one can pass the cardio and push-up test. Suicide rates and drug overdoses have hit all-time highs. Congratulations, America. We're the sickest developed country on earth. People are happier, skinnier, and live longer in Panama, a country we're about to invade. So they'll soon be as fat and sick as we are. When we were skinny and healthy in the 60s, we didn't have Diet Coke, low-fat yogurt, and sugar-free snacks. They didn't even exercise in the 60s. Women weren't in the gym, and guys just played sports. Hippies threw Frisbees. Have you ever seen a fat hippie? The average woman in 1960 weighed 140 pounds. Today, she weighs 170. The average man in 1960 weighed 166. And now the average guy's about 200. American men and women have added an average of 30 pounds. And all we do all day is sit. No wonder everything aches. And some of it's our fault, but not all of it. Finally, a Kennedy comes back to Washington who wants to change that and make America healthy again. RFK Jr., Trump's nominee for Health and Human Services, came into the Capitol for a hearing like a hero. When he sat down, his opening statement was sweet and simple.
President Trump has promised to restore America's global strength and to restore the American dream, but he understands we can't be a strong nation when our people are so sick. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person has only one, of the Make America Healthy Again movement. This movement, led largely by MAHA moms from every state, you can see many of them behind us today, and in the hallways and in the lobbies, is one of the most transcendent and powerful movements I've ever seen. I will do everything in my power to put the health of Americans back on track.
He also promised he's not changing the menu at Mickey D's.
I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, a Diet Coke, which my boss loves, and you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
RFK is like a public service announcement. It's like what we did with cigarettes. No one banned smoking. They just educated you on what it does to you. And funny enough, the same companies that put addictive chemical additives into cigarettes also put it into food. Americans should have the healthiest food, the most transparent industries, and the safest pharmaceuticals. And no one should lie to us about the science, for our sake and for the sake of our children. This isn't a partisan issue, but today in Washington, it was.
I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward,
You want me to
knowing
answer
that
the
it's going to
question,
harm
Senator?
Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. All of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking. Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here.
The same politicians who oversaw the explosion of obesity and chronic diseases, who never held hearings on clean eating, corruption, or side effects, are yelling at the one guy whose mission in life is health, who's 71 and can do more pull-ups than Democrats on the committee combined. The whole system is upside down when Liz Warren is defending Big Pharma.
I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
RFK Jr. spent his whole life suing industry on behalf of the little guy. And the Democrats, who just lost an election because they forgot about the little guy, are demanding Bobby Kennedy stop fighting for the little guy. Everybody in Washington has conflicts of interest, but Liz Warren, of all people, has taken over $1 million from healthcare and pharmaceutical interests. The ranking Democrat on the committee, Ron Wyden, he's taken over $1 million from him, too. At one point, Liz Warren declares she's the only one who can take money from Big Pharma.
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this question.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Democrats are attacking a Democrat on behalf of drug companies. Bernie Sanders, Mr. Vermont, whose constituents love hiking, yoga, and organic cheese, made a fool of himself.
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science.
If Democrats cared so much about everybody being vaccinated, they wouldn't have let 10 million unvaxxed third world migrants into the country. None of these Biden migrants had the COVID vax. You think they had the measles vax too? Do you think these Venezuelans who trekked through the Darien Gap into Texas all had their polio vaccine? Bernie kept trying to nail Bobby, but he kept getting outfoxed.
Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
yeah.
I would say it's different, because with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. Well, and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here.
When they finally let Kennedy speak, he said, "Are you going to tell me that we're all just going to sit here at this hearing and defend the status quo?"
I would ask, any of the Democrats who were chuckling just now, do you think all that money, the $900 billion that we're sending to Medicaid every year, has made Americans healthy? Do we think it's working for anybody? Are the premiums low enough?
Crisis. We didn't even realize it until the pandemic. That's when people started focusing on their lifestyle, cooking their own food, going for walks, lifting, reading, being lied to by Fauci. But they're telling us, no, stay inside, Netflix and chill, order Seamless and cannabis for dessert. This government has failed the people. And instead of wanting to fix the government, the Democrats want to make sure no one loses their job.
Will you pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety, work on trying to preventing things like salmonella?
Senator, there are 91,000 employees.
So that I take that as that's a simple yes, and I'm going to take that as a no.
Run that agency
I take that as a no. Will you actually? We talked about protecting Americans from cyber criminals, something we need to do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Politicians are more worried about saving the jobs of bureaucrats than saving the lives of American children. This issue is so much deeper than politics.
This is not just an economic issue. It's not just a national security issue. It is a spiritual issue, and it is a moral issue. We cannot live up to our role as an exemplary nation, as a moral authority around the world, and we're writing off an entire generation of kids.
Democrats who always use kids as human shields for their policies, can't do this, got to save the kids, can't do that, got to protect the kids. Suddenly, they don't care about the kids. You remember growing up, your fourth grade class, maybe one kid had an inhaler, maybe 2 or 3 kids were a little chunky. Not anymore.
When I launched my campaign, it was about uniting Americans, Democrats and Republicans. There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. These are our kids. 66% of them are damaged. I know what a healthy kid looks like because I had so many of them in my family. I didn't know anybody with a food allergy growing up, peanut allergy. Why do 5 of my kids have allergies?
By no means is Bobby Kennedy perfect. Not even close. He's had his demons. He's said things. We've all gone through stuff. But some of our best leaders have flaws. RFK Jr. is the only one with the skills, knowledge, and experience to get inside of this government and help America reverse this chronic disease epidemic. Our citizens voted to make America great and healthy again. RFK Jr. was a major part of this winning coalition. His endorsement helped Donald Trump sweep the battlegrounds and win the popular vote. He helped bring in Democrats, independents, and moms to the movement. This country is thirsty for radical change. And if Democrats don't vote for Bobby, I get it, it's Washington, that happens. But if he doesn't get confirmed because of Republicans, then that's the real disease. And let's just say, it will make me deeply disappointed in them. And they would never want to do anything to disappoint me.
Welcome to Hannity, and tonight, buckle up for another big interview. Only hours ago, I traveled back to the D.C. swamp. I sat down with the Vice President, J.D. Vance. We're going to bring you that exclusive interview in just a moment. Also tonight, after Caroline Leavitt's shock and awe debut, a star was born in the White House briefing room. Well, members of the state-run legacy media mob, they wasted no time launching their predictable vile attacks. Wait until you see what Joyless Behar, Whoopi Goldberg all had to say. And Caroline, she will join us with her response. That's straight ahead. But first, President Trump, he is nonstop, continuing to deliver on promise after promise after promise, in this case, to secure our borders. Earlier today, he signed the Laken Riley Act, surrounded by members of her loving family, including her mother, who made a heart-wrenching statement. Take a look.
Our family will forever be grateful for the prayers of the people across our nation and for helping to get this legislation into law. We also want to thank President Trump for the promises he made to us. He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Laken. And he hasn't. He's a man of his word. We trust that he will fight for the American people. Most importantly, I want to thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without his sacrifices, Laken's story would have ended on that horrific day that she was taken from us.
Where's Selena Gomez? Where's that post? A beautiful tribute, a sad loss to a young woman's life. Not only to an amazing young woman whose life was cut short by a Harris, Biden, Mayorkas, unvetted illegal immigrant, but also to all of the innocent Americans, all the Laken Rileys, all of the people that have been murdered, all the Americans that have been raped, all the Americans that have been victims of violent crimes at the hands of these unvetted illegals. You might not forget about 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary, or that 13-year-old girl raped in broad daylight in a park in Queens, New York, that was videotaped, or that 37-year-old mother of 5, Rachel Morin, whose young children, they will never, ever see their mother again. Remember, these names, we scrolled these names all throughout the election. Nobody else in the media talked about it. We did almost every night. And these are people, the names of people that were murdered and raped and victims of violent crime. If you add up all the victims of these crimes at the hands of Harris, Biden, unvetted illegals, the number is in the thousands. And the blame for that is directly on Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas. They all have, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, they have blood on their hands, and they lied to all of you. They lied to the entire country. And sadly, there will likely be more blood and even an attack on our homeland as a result of their failure by allowing known terrorists into the country, but we don't know where they are. You know, for years, by the way, 4 years, they sat in their air-conditioned offices, didn't bother to go down to the border, did nothing but lie to all of us while allowing a full-scale invasion at our southern border, the worst self-induced national security crisis by far in our country's history. Thankfully, President Trump is following through on his promises to clean up this mess that the Biden White House left behind. And during the signing of the Laken Riley Act, he also announced an executive order allowing up to 30,000 of the most violent, criminal, illegal aliens to be sent to Gitmo. But Trump didn't stop there. He also signed an executive order pledging to cancel student visas for the pro-Hamas protesters who disrupted college campuses all across our country. The virulent anti-Semitism we witnessed. Meanwhile, the effects of the president's crackdown on illegal immigration are being felt all across the country. In an early morning raid today, DEA agents arrested 4 suspects in Colorado with purported ties, to one of these violent cartel gangs and the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The arrest came just 1 day after federal law enforcement officials conducted immigration raids in New York City. DEA agents said this critical operation would not have been possible without President Donald Trump's leadership. Now an alleged ringleader of that violent Tren de Aragua gang is off the streets. And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was there when it happened and has now revealed he was trying to buy grenades. And thanks to Biden and Harris and Mayorkas, this is likely the tip of the iceberg. This will be their long-term legacy. But in the meantime, thankfully, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, he is launching an investigation asking sanctuary city mayors to come and testify before Congress. How many times on this show have we said they're aiding, they're abetting the law breaking? They're helping in human trafficking. And as Borders Czar Tom Homan said, local politicians who obstruct the mass deportations, they themselves could face charges. But predictably, many on the left wing and the left-wing state-run media mob and Democrats, once again, they go back to their tried-and-true 9-year-old mantra: Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, fascist, racist, Nazi. This is what the Democrats and the state-run legacy media mob have become. This is who they have been now for 10 years. Just take a look at how they conducted themselves during RFK's confirmation hearing from earlier today. Take a look.
There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. These are our kids. 66% of them are damaged. I don't think anybody is going to be able to do this like I have because of my peculiar experience, because I've litigated against these agencies. When you litigate against them, you get a PhD in corporate capture and how to unravel it. I've written 6 books about these agencies. I know a lot about them, and I know how to fix it. And there's nobody who will fix it the way that I do, because I'm not scared of vested interests. I don't care.
He did an amazing job on Capitol Hill, just like all the other cabinet officials that went before the U.S. Senate. They didn't really lay a glove on them. They're just angry. Despite spending more money on health care than any other country in the world, the overall health and well-being of the American people is not in a good place. President Trump, RFK, no, we can't be strong if our people are all sick. But the Democrats at today's hearing must have missed the memo, because they acted like a group of overgrown, petulant children throwing a temper tantrum. And at one point, Bernie Sanders screaming about baby onesies. Can't make this up. Take a look.
Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Based on your opinion, based upon your opinion, or your political agenda, or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
Based upon my opinion.
Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with leadership.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here.
You really can't make this Adam Schiff up. What a bunch of clowns. While Democrats in the Senate throw their temper tantrum across town, the Trump administration, they're busy working, making good on the promises they made to the American people. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.